You had an impressive victory against Wasps last time you played them. Does that have any effect on the way you approach this game?
Not particularly. I mean, obviously we were really pleased with how we played that day. I think we found a little bit of a chink in their armour that day with our driving game. But I think at the same time, you probably look at the score now and it looks like a comfortable victory. Well, the truth is, in the second half, the scores were tied up, and we had to pull away again. So, we're expecting it to be a tough game. I mean, ultimately, any win gives you a little bit of a confidence. I mean, the truth is, you could ask me bigger questions like, are we going to get to the European final? And you could say, well, we've beaten every team that are in this half of the league, so this half of the draw, the English team, so can we get there? Well, history says we've beaten them before, we can beat them again. But I think that's obviously the real positive way of looking at it, and probably looking too far ahead. As far as I'm concerned, we're going to focus very much on this as the next game in this season. We're not actually looking at it as a one-off game, because I don't think that's actually the way we should approach these things. I think now we are genuinely in a position where we should be looking forward to and expecting to be involved in more of these games in the future. And the last thing I've said to the players today in the team meeting was, I don't want you to look at it like a one-off occasion and we'll just go there and just going to enjoy the day. That's the wrong frame of mind for us. The frame of mind for us is to go there and push our game on them, and play to the very best of our abilities, and we'll take what comes. We'll take what comes. But we're certainly not going to go there and have a run around in the sun and see what happens. We're going to go there and try and be a tough, good Premiership side, and that's the kind of performance I expect us to put in.
Rob, what do you make of Wasps? They quite a dangerous outfit, aren't they, when they're on their game?
Well, they're in a lot of ways. It's true what people say. In a lot of ways, they are the most dangerous team, kind of in various scenarios, kind of on the break, in counter-attack, tries out of nothing, I suppose, a little bit. And they have got numerous individuals who actually you can pin them down as a team a fair bit, and then an individual can make something happen. But I think the big thing that's really knocked them on a level is that there's a genuine understanding and an organisation there this season that allows those individuals to thrive and get the ball in their hands and let them express themselves. And the truth is, and I think it's very important in rugby, they look like they're enjoying what they're doing. They genuinely look like they're enjoying what they're doing, and that is probably the biggest force you can have as a team. Is you look at each other in the changing room and you decide you're going to go out there and you're going to be there for each other and you're going to enjoy what you do. And I think they've got those things marked down very well. And they're big qualities that I expect out of our team. And so when I see them, it worries me a little bit. But as I said, I think the important thing for us to do is not focus overly on Wasps. And I know that sounds a bit strange, but I think it's a bit like when you try and look at a magician too much, you actually get mesmerised into seeing all the threats that are there, and you end up defending none of them, and you end up not focusing on what you need to do yourselves as a team. Because obviously the best way to nullify Wasp attack isn't to defend it. The best way to nullify Wasp attack is to attack it yourself. Is to have the ball. And I think we've got to make sure that there are elements that we remember that. That if we're attacking, they haven't got the ball, and that's a pretty good form of defence. And that's the approach I want us to have. I don't want us to have an approach where we're scared of them, so all we're going to do is lump the ball back down and see if we can defend them from their half of the pitch, because that plays into their hands. We're going to have to be prepared to be a bit brave, make sure we play. We've got dangerous players as well. You get the ball into Henry Slade's hands and Jack Knowles' hands. Ian Whitten's having a great season. We've got some boys there. We get the ball into their hands, they can be very dangerous. We get 5 metres out, Tom Waldron can be very dangerous, or Moore can be very dangerous. We've got some threats of ourselves, and I think we've got to focus on those first, really, rather than get too carried away with what Wasps will bring.
You mentioned Thomas Waldron there. He certainly had a very effective game up at Wasps earlier in the season.
Yeah, and as I said, the truth about Tom is obviously he gets the headlines for the tries scored, but the truth is a lot of what he does to create those 5 metre opportunities he does on other areas of the pitch. He's a big momentum carrier for us, and it's often you'll see the momentum he's gained as middle third of the pitch is what ultimately puts the team under pressure and perhaps wins us a penalty. We can then go to the corner, or we make our break to get 5 minutes out. And although he is, I'm not going to say he's very effective from close range. He has got guys around him who know how to help him through those scenarios, and he's like he's the kind of scoring part of a cog in a machine that works very well. But as I said, the important thing for us is how we play to create those try-scoring opportunities. Tom's a big part of that as well, and probably doesn't get as much credit as he should for his part he plays in that. And obviously that's what we have to be prepared to do as a team, and that's why I don't want us to get overly worried with kind of Wasps' threats in that it stops us playing. I hope that Wasps' threat of attack makes us play, makes us have the ball and makes us go after them, because that's what will create a great game. You know, they want to attack us. We've got to make sure we want to attack them as well.
Is that close range finishing ability, is that a skill, or is that just the law of physics and momentum?
Yeah, it's all down to body shape. All down to body shape. I've got to be quoted at that, haven't I?
Yeah.
I can't say anything else. You know, if I don't get quoted saying Tom Walden's only good for 5 minutes because of body shape, I'll never live it down at
But
this
it
club.
is extraordinary, his record, not just this season, but last season as well. And
Yeah.
if-
I mean, the
if
truth
it's
is,
easier
he's.
than everyone
I mean,
can do it.
physically, his shape does allow him to kind of hold his feet, and more than a taller, rangier guy could get kind of lassoed and chopped down a bit. So obviously his physique does help, but actually, you know, it takes some rugby smarts as well to decide the right moment and when to go, and to know when support's around you, and to know when the opposition are on the back foot, and because he doesn't just do the same thing every time. There is a bit of variety to what he does, and as I say, you know, he also plays with a group of lads who kind of know what he's going to do, and there's a bit of a synergy there now about helping him over the try line. You know, the lads don't in any way think that he's being greedy. You know, they know he's good at it, and the guys help him do it, and that's very important.
So you got to try a scoring bonus in his contract.
Well, we often pay him, but we don't pay him in money.
Mars.
It's often confectionery.
I mean, you might end up playing Wasps 3 times in the
Yeah.
next few weeks, mightn't you? Is that complicate things, or, you know, makes the first one actually even more important, doesn't it, from that perspective, because they're going to loom large?
Yeah, I think it's one of those scenarios. It's almost too difficult to try and work out, because obviously, whoever, you know, the winners and losers of this game at the weekend then head off on different paths, really.
Yeah.
So one team heads off on a path where they've got a really important Premiership game next week, and then has a European semi-final, and the other team heads off where they've got that important Premiership game,
Yeah.
either feeling good about themselves or knowing that it's all about the Premiership, and then got a rest week, and so before we then meet up again straight after that, either European game or rest week. And I think the two paths are so different, depending on whether you win or lose, that what bearing it will have on the next game is almost impossible to predict, because one team will go into a Premiership game feeling pretty good about winning and have a semi-final looming large, and still have that tough Premiership game. For the other team, it's going to become all about the Premiership. Sure. And I think, as I said, at this stage, I don't want to try and plot and plan for what that will bring, but you know, like I said, the two paths are so different. It's going to be really interesting to see how either of us go through it and come out the other side.